After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the MeatEater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the MeatEater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, brought to you by Interstate Batteries. Interstate Batteries has been a proud supporter of the Sportsman's Nation since day one. So, if you need batteries for your truck, batteries for your trail cameras, TV remote controls, flashlights, you name it, Interstate Batteries has what you need. They have thousands of retail locations all over the United States. So stop in, talk to a battery specialist, or for more information, visit interstatebatteries.com.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear. This is a difficult podcast for me to intro because I don't want to undersell it, but I also don't want to oversell it. But I feel like that this is one of those podcasts that I'll probably remember forever. I had the opportunity to go to East Tennessee and to sit down with Mr. Roy Clark and some of his very close family. It was almost like a podcast with a live audience. Well, it was. There was a lot of people in the room. We had 4 guys on the podcast. But Roy is a long-time, real-deal Appalachian bear hunter and dog breeder and houndsman. Roy is one of those guys that never sought for attention, and he's really the kind of person that I want to give attention to because of that reason. Roy is he's the real deal. He's the real deal when it comes to Appalachian Mountain bear hunters. And I want to say that he is just one of many. Sometimes in outdoor media, you just bump into people at the right time and you develop friendships with people. To me, he represents Appalachian Mountain bear hunters. Now, I could have just by chance bumped into somebody else because the names are countless. And all you hound hunters over there, you know people like Roy Clark. And so I don't want this to be like we're highlighting this guy, trying to make him a legend, okay? But he is a legend. What I want this podcast to do is to let this peek into Roy Clark's life, the way he's hunted, the way he grew up, the way the Laurel Mountain Bear hunters function. Let it be a representation of a lot of good things and positive hunting culture that's happening over in the Appalachians, because there's a lot of great hunters, there's a lot of great dog breeders, a lot of all the different breeds, and a lot of great men, women, and families that have been in bear hunting with hounds for generations. This is a special podcast, and we're breaking it into 2 podcasts. So this one is about an hour and a half long. The second one will be about an hour long. So enjoy this podcast with my friend Roy Clark and the Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters. We're continuing on this week with our giveaway with W Hunting Supply. the guys at W are more than just a hound supply company. They truly, they're an advocacy group. They're really standing up, putting their money where their mouth is, and they're good guys. If you're a houndsman, give them a look. Give them a look when you're buying anything from Garmin products to collars to leashes to whatever you need inside of hound hunting. We've sent out a gift card and T-shirt to Jacob Griffin and Chase Durden. They've been our winners of the W Hound Supply contest that we've been doing, and all you have to do is give our podcast a review on iTunes, take a screen clip, and send that to us, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, or email at info@bear-hunting.com to be entered. We can't send one to everybody, but we truly appreciate every review that we've gotten, and give the guys at W Hunting Supply a look for anything you need with hounds. I also want to say that Kenny Whaley was not able to be in this podcast. Kenny Whaley's one of the Laurel Mountain Bear hunters. There was rumor that he was having a private meeting with Garmin, giving them some consultation and input about their 2021 Garmin line, because Kenny is known far and wide as the Garmin wizard of the Laurel Mountain Bear hunters. So sorry you couldn't make it, Kenny. And hey, you're going to enjoy this podcast again with my friend Roy Clark.
I can tell you a tale about Trend 1 over right beside the road at the park over there. And
well, save it. Now, don't tell it right now.
Wait till the cameras
don't tell it if it's going to get you in trouble with the law.
no,
You said the iron knife? We got more
Matthew's
stories than that, right?
Matthew's about 3 years old. He's scared to death. I put him down the stump on fire. And,
I said, "Does all want to pay me? Because I don't know if to put you to
and these people wanted to see a bear up a tree, and here they come across the top of that ridge and down through there, and here the bear come out of the tree, started out of the tree, and his daddy and Sunshine started shooting, and they said, "It's still alive, son." Them two was coming over to see it up that tree, went back across that ridge, off into the road, and that man was in front of his wife, and he went into the road and into his truck, and some of them said, "You ought to help your wife." He said she's on her own.
Now, that was when Matthew was a little kid. Is that what you said?
Matthew?
Yeah, I was probably 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah,
He's little anyway.
That's a good place to start. Hey, we're in Hartford, Tennessee, East Tennessee, Cocke County, Tennessee. Is that right?
That's right.
And I'm at Roy Clark's house, and we've got Scott Childress over here. We got Matthew Rains, and we've got Josh. Hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Josh, introduce yourself.
Josh Ford,
Yeah. And how are you connected to Mr. Roy?
family friend, close neighbor. Grew up hunting with Roy. Been hunting with Roy all my life. I'll be 35 this year, and I'll be 35 years hunting with Roy Clark. So.
Yeah. You were telling me some of your first memories are just as a little kid, not just hunting memories, but memories in life.
When it started out the same way.
Absolutely.
His daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the earliest memories I have, Clay, are hunting with Roy or just hunting in general. But bear hunting, and I'm fourth generation. My son now, he's a fifth generation bear hunter. So just definitely a family thing for us around here.
Yeah. Matthew?
That's Matthew Rains. I've been a part of the family since I was little. Roy really helped raise me and his two nephews when we was little. We hung out with him more than we probably did anybody. So I was kind of grew up just with him, one of his boys.
Yeah.
He just lives right there. You
just live right up the road.
Just right across the ridge.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why don't you hand those over to Scott? Scott, introduce yourself. We're having to switch headsets around here a little bit. We got a whole. This is almost like a They do podcasts now where they do like live podcasts where there'll be an audience of people. This is the closest thing that the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast has done to a live
audience.
Live audience. We got people out here sitting around. Go ahead, Scott.
I'm Scott Childers. I'd say, when did I first meet you? 89 or 90? 90, I guess.
It's over 26 years ago, so I can tell you.
And, I'm married in the family, and I got to bear hunt with Roy, and that's pretty much all I do is bear hunt with him.
So you're Roy's son-in-law.
That's correct.
He can tell you a good tale while he's got that headset on.
Which
Yeah.
one's that?
The person he ever killed.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good tale.
First one?
Yeah, first bear ever killed.
Well, let's hear it.
Over on the state line. Well, no, it wasn't on the state line. It was above the Orange Gate, wasn't it?
We was over on the bluff, and I don't believe it's nobody hunting but me and you. was it?
Everybody left us. It's me and you.
And we found an old cold bear track up there they couldn't hardly smell. And it was a little snow on the ground. And we turned Ann and Carl and Leroy loose on it. And they was pecking around, and wasn't going nowhere. And directly they come to us, and we went back up in there, took them back up in there, and they fooled around, and finally, Ann and Carl come back to us, and Leroy was going on around the mountain when I were hearing around the mountain. That's in North Carolina. He went into North Carolina around the mountain. So we was on this side of the mountain, and we had to come all the way off the mountain, go all the way around the bluff, come back on the other side of the bluff, and when we got over there where he's at, we stopped, and, son, we could hear him every breath he draw, coming around under us, around through there, and so he was coming below the road. And I told Scott to get out in front of the truck and stay in front of the truck out through there, and I'd keep the dogs along. He'd come across the road, we'd throw him on him. Well, he did. He got out through there. Well, I caught up with him out there, and I told him go on around the road. So he went on around the road, and next thing I knowed, I heard him shoot, and I got out there, and he said he'd come up right between them two trees right there, and he said I shot it. And he said, I don't know what I done to it or nothing. I said, well, he's quit barking, Scott. He ain't a barking. I said, you've heard it, you killed it, you've done something. And I said, go down there and see. Go down there and see if you can find him. And so off in there, Scott went down in there, and directly he hollered back. He said, it's dead. He said, I found him down here. And I went off in there to him, and he had him up in his arms and beating him in the side.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to break his ribs and stuff. He's a beating on him so hard, son. Now he's tore up, buddy.
Yeah. Was that your first?
Yeah, it's first bear ever killed.
Yeah. Had you hunted with him before?
Not
though?
much, if any.
Yeah.
That might have been the first hunt he went on, I ain't sure.
I think that's the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah, second time I ever went.
Well, anyway,
I'd get Roger and them come
we
back and
couldn't
help
get
us
it
get
out. We couldn't move it. So we had to call some boys that was hunting over on another mountain from us to come over there. And we actually got Ray lost, didn't we?
Ray and Roger and Flash.
Which was Jamie's dad-in-law now, but he's dead, to come over to help us get it out of there. And it's a nice boy bear, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably what, 250 or no better.
Something like that. Over 200 anyway. I thought that was a good deal.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we dive in too deep, so the people that are listening to this, some of them might be bear hunters with hounds. Some of them may have don't know anything about it, you know. And so you guys, just to give a little bit of context in who Roy is. So you guys are the Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters. That's kind of the name of it's not really a hunting club. You can't really join the Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters. You've kind of got to be invited in, and I pride myself on being a Laurel Mountain Bear hunter.
Yes, sir. That's right.
When I came in 2017, after 3 days, I got a hat. Scott gave me a hat, and I said, okay, well, this is official then, right? I'm a Laurel Mountain Bear hunter. But no, I basically all the guys that hunt with you and your kennel name. That's what I'm getting at. Is that Roy is a longtime Plott breeder, and there's a ton of culture, a ton of history inside of. And there's a lot of guys like you, Roy. I mean, there's people scattered around that have been breeding dogs for generations. Not a lot, few, but it's kind of it's a thing for guys to breed bear dogs in these mountains. And so so what we're going to talk about in this podcast a lot is I want to hear Roy's history, and then I want to hear about the Laurel Mountain Bear hunters too. Or just, some of your adventures and how you guys hunt and different things. But this is a unique culture over here, though. I don't think a lot of people even, before I got Bear Hunting Magazine, I'm not even sure that I would have known that there was a hound bear season in Tennessee. I didn't even know that. And then here is this like really strong, established bear hunting culture over here. And
I guess Mark told you need to talk to us, didn't he?
Yeah, Mark Dufresne was the one who several years ago, they wouldn't even, I had to get vetted before a committee before they would give me your phone number. It's
They're doing a pretty good job in one.
Yeah. No, they so that's who Roy Clark is. Roy Clark is a bear hunter, a houndsman, and a dog breeder.
Which now these boys knows from time they've been little bitty things and stuff that we've bear hunted, and I don't know no times that we ain't killed bears. Do you? No. And I mean, just to be able to have dogs capable of killing bear every year, and staying up with dogs that can trail and jump bears is I don't know what you'd say it's good or we're lucky one to other, because we've had that. We've been low sometimes, but we ain't never been without.
Yeah.
And we've had some of the good of trail dogs, in my opinion, as you could own.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, you described to me earlier you described this scenario pretty good. Do you remember how you said it? I want you to say it again. Just about how Mr. Roy grew up and things were tough. He developed the craft.
Yeah.
And then you younger guys.
We were talking as we rode up the road there, just, that we've been fortunate. My generation, Matthews, Shane and Jordan and Jared and all the guys that hunted with us and Scott and even going back up to my dad and Matthew's dad and some of those guys, that we've been fortunate to grow up in a time when bears were plentiful, more so than when Roy and them started. But then, as Roy honed his craft on breeding and the dogs came to be and we came along, we paired together to form this just dynamite package where you had these eager young boys ready to go chase after the dogs and Roy doing all the work in the background. You said it, we were his legs. We were the ones to go do it for him. And, to pair us all together like that, it just really was a dynamite package that it's been a blast and something that we grew up and just almost take it for granted. I mean, we plan vacations around it. We plan our whole lives around bear hunting with Roy.
Yeah. And it really does take a big group of people to really have an effective unit, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, the dedication.
I'm going to say at least 10 years, if not longer, that we ain't failed killing we've killed over 50 bear a year to them dogs down there.
You caught probably 100 or 100.
Oh yeah, catch more than that. Yeah. But I'm just saying.
And that's in multiple states, and even traveling to
multiple
Canada.
Countries.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
But I mean, it's in the 4 months hunting period that you're hunting, which is still a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard Roy. He told multiple people. He says, "I don't think there's a bear in this country once I get them dogs loose and them boys out here that's going to get away from us.
Yeah,
You
them
know,
boys.
that's
Well, it takes and this is what somebody that doesn't bear hunt might not know, and what I learned is that, first of all, you got to have some incredible dogs to consistently treat bear. Just like what he's saying is not normal.
Right.
I mean, what him saying that for the last all these years y'all never had trouble catching bears. You know, what he's saying is that these dogs are doing a good job. And then the other side of that equation is that just because you got dogs that can catch a bear doesn't mean that you're going to kill bears. You got to have a unit. I mean, these bears aren't just running 500 yards and treeing like our coons do in Arkansas. I mean, these bears are, I said it earlier, black bear is arguably the hardest big game animal in North America to tree with a dog. I mean,
well, some
incredible
of them
stamina.
won't be treed, and the dogs would be obeying them, and them boys would get there, and then they'd be calling you back and say, "We're here." They've got it made right here in front of me. I'm looking at the bear. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Either shoot it or make it move one to the other.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And that's where you've got to have. That's where the physical side of hound hunting comes in. Is that you get a walking bear, as you guys say, one that doesn't want to run up a tree, which does happen, and you got to get to that bear. And you know, when it's in season, you're gonna take that bear most of the time, just to end the race. You know, and that might be on the backside of the mountain.
Actually, I guess we like to kill them better where they've got them caught on the ground than we do treed. Really, you know, because you get more excitement and more thrill out of it. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a pretty incredible thing, and it's a unique. You know, there's a unique social structure that happens inside of like what I see coming from the outside in, looking at you guys. I mean, just the relationships that you guys have, and I mean, if you go bear hunting with you see what it's all about. I mean, from daylight till dark, how many days a year are you guys together, and you're working together to accomplish a goal? And then now Scott is over here every day helping Roy with the dogs and stuff. Now that's a whole nother side of the thing, is just keeping dogs year round, you know. I mean, that's a lot of work in and of itself. But
yeah, it's a ton of work. It's a ton of work, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something that all of us at some point have taken our turn. You know, Scott's taking jobs out on the road, and it'd be me or Matthew or whoever, and that's the thing that, you know, we've always took a lot of pride in was the dogs. And that's, you know, we're always talking about catching bears on the ground, and Matthew and one of the things that we're always looking out for is protecting those dogs, because that's our lifeline. You know, there is no bear hunting for us without that pack of dogs. So one of the most important things to us when we go into one of those bears is watching out for them and doing our job to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our main priority, is the dogs first, then whatever comes out of that, you know, we handle it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making sure the dogs are tied up before any bears are shot out of trees, and, you know, all that stuff. So
yeah,
if we ain't got them dogs, we ain't catching no bird.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Mr. Roy, why don't you tell me about how your dad, just your first memories of bear hunting, of going back in the mountains.
Alvin David right there's hunted with us. Or how old are you, Al?
54.
54 years, ever since he's been big enough to go. And his daddy hunted with us. And his daddy, like my daddy, like Josh, likes me. His daddy did. And he hunted, and we went to school together up here. And it's in there somewhere. I've got a Valentine's card in there that he sent me when we was about in the 4th grade, I think. And on that Valentine's card he sent me, he said, "We bear hunters, ain't we, Roy?" That was his dad.
Alvin David's dad.
Yeah, his dad.
He said, "We bear hunters, aren't we,
We bear
Roy?"
hunters, buddy.
And what grade how old would you have been?
We was in the 4th grade, so ever when that was. How long ago would that be?
About 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
9, something like that.
So you went ahead and just stuck with that identity, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. His daddy sort of left us, come and went some. He's back now. Maybe he'll stay. But that boy right yonder ain't never fired a day, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love him. I love you too.
Yep.
That just shows you, Clay, what it means to us. You know, it's beyond just going out and having a big time hunting.
Yeah.
It's beyond just a group of guys here hanging out in Roy's house. You know, it's our life.
Yeah.
You know, it's something we've all grown up doing all the way back through, and it's just it's a bond.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It really is.
Son, he won't leave you, buddy. He won't leave you out there. I don't care how long you have to stay.
Yeah.
Leave you or the dogs. He'd be the last one to come. He'd be the last one there helping you get the last dog up.
Well, you know, I've hunted with you guys for 3 days of the last 68 years this guy's been bear hunting. And the one time we had to fetch dogs after dark, he went. I knew that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
We've spent a long nights in the truck together and stayed all night and freezing cold and whatever. We stay there with those dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you, Mr. Roy, the original question was your first memories of bear hunting with your, and then you started talking about Alvin David. But when you were in elementary school, that's when your dad had dogs before you were born.
Yeah.
But you remember going with your grandpa.
And they hunted with Britt. Britt hunted with them. And
yeah, Mr. Britt's here. Mr. Britt's 88. Are you 88, Mr. Britt? 88 years old. He's a YouTube star.
YouTube
Mr. Britt's a YouTube star.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
But my best days first remembered is getting to, if I'd get up, they would run off and leave me if I couldn't wake up. But if I'd wake up and get up and stuff, they'd let me go some. And my grandpa had his leg broke twice, and he couldn't get around too good. So I got to stay with him, and I didn't care what they done. As long as I was with him, I was in safekeeping.
Yeah.
Then I got
How did he break his leg?
Logging.
Logging accident.
Yeah. And I think, I ain't sure both times, but I know one time that loading logs and one come back and caught him and broke it. I don't know if that's the way he got it broke both times or not. But I'd stay with him, and then sometimes he didn't care for me being there much, and he didn't say much. But if my cousin like Bob and if like Emmers are going and Chipper, and there's a guy that he worked with down in South Carolina, and he had 2 boys, and if he had to watch about 5 of them, then he'd get sort of teed off, and he'd tell them he wasn't going to babysit no more and stuff. But I could make it with him good. But then come a time when we'd go over there on a 12-mile strip, walking through the woods, trying to find a bear track, and wouldn't have enough people to lead dogs, and Daddy'd make me get Rambler, which was a trail dog, and he was pretty good till he smelled a bear. Then when he smelled a bear, you couldn't do nothing with him in, but he'd make me lead him out in front and us walking through the woods, and if he smelled a bear, about the only way I could stop him is wrap a lead strap around a tree or something. and then, but even if Daddy found a bear, or if we found a bear, say was leading on a bear or something, and he'd tie him up right here, I'd have to stay there with him, and he'd go down through there trying to see which way it went for sure. And then he'd holler back for me to bring a dog to him. And I knowed what was going to happen as soon as I took him loose, that he was going to take me down through there just like a sled runner. And the only hope I had, but I couldn't turn him loose because Daddy'd he'd have worked me over if I'd turned him loose. So I'd hold on to him. And the only hope I had was when I got to Daddy that he grabbed the dog lead and caught him, And one time I told my grandpa, and I was scared some too, I guess, about 6-year-old probably. And I got off on one of them ordeals, and I told Pappy, I said, I'm telling you right now, Pappy, the next time I come a bear hunting, I'll be big enough to tell anybody that I ain't leading their dogs for
Now he used to camp. Tell us how you camped back then.
Well, he had an old log truck, and we'd load that log truck down with dogs and food and tarpaulin and all the stuff we needed to hunt with, and we'd go to 12-mile strip, go in over at Oliver and Lethes and go into Dick's Branch and take it back in there to Dick's Branch and set it up back there to tie the dogs up and fix the back of it to sleep in and put a tarpaulin over the bed of it and let the tarpaulin come out over the side of it and put the Coleman stove and stuff under there to cook on and stuff and walk and hunt from there and stuff.
What time of year did y'all do that?
Well, it always opened. The closest Monday to the 15th of October has been North Carolina just about ever since I can remember, don't you think? It might have opened the 1st of October years ago when I was little, I ain't sure. But for years and years, it's been.
So that was in North Carolina?
That's in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a few miles from here, though.
Yeah, just a few
you can
miles
see
from here.
the mountains off your front porch is the North Carolina border.
That's right. But if you go up the gorge, and before you get to the rest area and you look over there to the right, over on that side, that's right there. That's where it's at.
Okay. So how long would y'all hunt?
Daddy stayed open like 6 weeks, and what time he stayed drunk was a right smart, but we stayed and hunted about the whole time.
Really?
That it was open. Now, I'm sure I had to go to school when it's school time and stuff, but we done a right smart of hunting.
Yeah.
And he done a right smart of drinking.
Sleeping? Did you sleep in the hay? Did you bring hay to sleep on?
Yeah. We put that down in there. Britt's been in on some of that.
Yeah. Did Mr. Britt hunt with you back then? Now, I know he didn't drink.
Well, it wasn't past there. I wouldn't say that now. Not much. I'll say this, not much. But now, when he got that way, buddy, he is a happy man.
So that was your. Do you really remember much about the hunting back? I mean, do you remember y'all back then? There weren't many bears.
I remember this right here, and I guess to tell you the truth, it was probably, I guess, more than likely, it's probably the only bear Pappy killed, probably. And we was over there, and them dogs was up with it, and I was little, I don't know how old, but I wasn't big. I was scared to death, buddy. And here's coming that bear right up towards us, and that bear was a-coming. I don't know if Britt was over hunting that day or not. And it was a-coming up to the road, and we was past the sand beach down there, that big curve and down through there, and the power line's off down here, and Val Grooms was following that bear, and here me and Pappy was in the road, and here that bear was coming to the road, and Pappy killed him. And maybe the only bear he ever killed, but he killed him. And I was wanting to climb a tree, buddy. That's what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to get out of the way. But anyway, he got it killed, and Val come on up there. And then they told after that about Pappy. I think he had a hand in that. But if he didn't, I know him and Everett Gant and some of them probably had the hand into it. Said when they got around there where Pappy was at, that he was laying in the road, and he kicked a big hole out in the road over there, and where he'd scared him so bad he'd passed out, and kicked a big hole in the road, and said he looked up at him and said, "Bear." Bear. Now, Pappy didn't like that too good, did he? No, he didn't like that too good.
Britt says no, he didn't. Now, was that the bear he killed that scared
the
him?
bear he killed.
Now, were you standing there with him?
Mm-hmm.
So he
Scared
passed
to
out.
death. No.
They
He
just
didn't do
told
none of
that on him.
They just told that on him.
Oh, they just told it on him. Okay.
No, he didn't do none of that.
Okay. I get it now.
I don't know if that's the only one he ever killed or not, Britt. No. But Britt killed one. Right up here in the Gulf. And actually, that bear come down through there, and we was trying to follow it down the creek, and his daddy was with Daddy. And I believe me and
Britt's
Chip was together, huh?
Oh,
Al's
Alvin
daddy.
David's. Okay.
Daddy, Floyd Ray, and Daddy, and they come down the creek, and me and Chipper, we come off in there somewhere or another. But Britt was in a Jeep, and the bear come down there and went up sail bed. Went across through the campground there and up that way and up sail bed. Well, Britt went through the creek down there. There was water still running in the creek, and we got down there where he'd knocked it so dry. And and them old Jeeps we had that 4-wheel drive stick and stuff, you know, and the rubber would be broke from it, you know, and it'd just be a hole you could just see down to the ground.
I see.
Well, we got some of them. We got 2 radios. They had a white-faced Johnson and a black-faced Johnson. Had all them holes. You could see all the tubes in it. All them holes you looked in and see the tubes in there. But when they'd run through them creeks and splatter that water up on them, hit them tubes and it'd blow them out. And then they'd have to go over to Charlie McGay's over here, and he had stuff to fix it with. I don't know where he got, and anyhow, he'd done so much stuff in the Army, and he'd put them tubes and stuff back in them radios. But now it's hard to keep them radios working. But anyway, he got up there, and when he got up there, he caught that bear and had it down. And he was trying to hold on and bite laurel bushes, and the dogs were pulling it backwards down through there and hit a biting on them laurel bushes. So he stuck a gun against it and killed him. You want to add anything to that?
Now, Brenda was going to have us all hold up our left hands to swear that the truth was being told. Is that right, Miss Brenda?
And Ed and he'd go with Daddy right smart when he was younger. And then he actually, I give you the Ed bitch, didn't I? I give him a dog. I actually might have given him 2 dogs. Did you have 2 dogs down there? Did you have a quarter bitch down there too, or just Ed bitch? But anyway,
questions to the live audience out here.
And and he kept her there, and then he got big enough to court and big enough to run around and stuff, and I got her back, I guess, and now he's come back around pretty solid here since he's got a little older.
So Now tell me how your dad got into Plotts. So now we've established that you've been hunting your whole life, but I guess it's a step back to.
Well, if you went back to the first start of what I know, it was Ken Holt, which was a sheriff of Cock County, lived right across the road from us down here. And now this is before I was born. Some of the stuff I'm talking about now was before I was born. And like, he was good friends with Daddy and Pappy, and they was good friends with Hollis Sutton, which lived on Mount Sterling over here. And actually, the sheriff of some county in North Carolina, I don't know exactly which county, Goldie Ferguson, he was a sheriff up there. And through Ken Holt and Goldie Ferguson, being sheriff in two different states, but bordering counties.
Right.
It's like. And somewhere or another, they got Plott dogs. Like where they was pretty hard to get, but I mean, they had Plott dogs. And Ken had them. Well, my grandpa had one, and his name was Smokey. You probably remember him, Brett? Smokey that Pappy had? But anyway, he was a coon dog. I don't know how good he done on a bear, but he would. You could take him up and go up a coon, which there wasn't a lot of coons. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're just lucky to get after a coon. Mm-hmm. But if that sucker went up a branch, he's going to strike. If he went up that branch. Well, then that come on up with a few Plotts, and Daddy had a little old Plott that Ken had give him, I reckon, and he called him Rock, which they run over him. Daddy run over him, didn't he, Brett? Did Daddy run over Rock? That Plott dog that he had. Anyway, he, and then when Charles Gant come along, and we had them Plotts and stuff, different dogs too, had two Iredales and High Black and Tan that Britt and Daddy bought from somebody in Newport. And, but Charles Gant come to Daddy's, and that's say when I was little. Mm-hmm. And I guess big enough to remember Charles Gant, but not enough to know nothing, and talk to Daddy, and they got to be friends, and Charles had a few dogs, and they went to Ohio to get a dog to breed into them dogs. So that was in I'm sure the early 50s or so. And I don't know if you've ever heard tell of Benny Moore or not. You ever heard that name?
No.
The Benny Moore that hunted against that merchant at Plott dog and that Walker dog.
No.
Hunt off he had.
Anyway,
they stayed all night with him. He was from Kentucky. And then they went to Ohio and got that dog. I think as they come back through, they stopped and stayed all night with him, coming back through, and then come on home. But after Charles Gant started raising them dogs, more or less, that's just sort of what we went to. Because he'd breed dogs and let us have dogs and bring dogs up there for us to hunt. And we could get
so
in
you guys were the boys from the mountains that were hunting these dogs for Mr. Gant.
Yeah, and he'd bring dog feed and everything else. And Britt got dogs off of him. And I'm sure Britt hunted some at Charles's too, didn't he? And so that's how we come in good friends with Charles Gant and Everett Gant. And they was good to us and our family over the years. Mm-hmm. And I was partial to them dogs and stuff too that he had. So these dogs have still got that in them today, some of it.
Yeah.
And actually some of them, if you went back far enough, would be going right back to just Charles Gant too.
Yeah.
And some of the dogs before that he bred too.
Yeah.
And then it come a time that we got Britt got an old Army Jeep, and then Daddy got a 53 or 54 Willis that Daddy got, and that's what we hunted out of. And and if you put 6 dogs in each one of them jeeps, and put 3 or 4 of us in a jeep, and it was a load, buddy. And then we
weren't near the bears back then that there are now.
No, but. And some of us had to sit in there, the dogs, and have fleas all over you, and have dogs all over you, and not have nothing to eat, and get back in the mountains and be back there all day, and maybe we'd have some apples in that old Jeep and roll around in the dog manure, and some we'd peel the peelings off of them and eat them, buddy. Because you didn't have nothing. You had to eat something. You didn't have nothing to eat. You might go out today and get fat of bear hunting, but you didn't get fat at the end of bear hunting. You're lucky if you could find a bite, buddy.
So you hunted with your dad all through being a young man, and then you killed your first bear, and then you kind of...
Actually, Daddy was hard to hunt with because... He wouldn't wait on you nor nothing. And we'd be little, like say Lofton or like that boy, and we'd try to follow him through the woods and stuff. He'd just run plumb off and leave you. And he might stop away up yonder, and you'd get close enough to see him up yonder, and you'd be tired and out of breath, and maybe you'd take a piece of ice and run it across your lips, and or a little snow to wet your lips with. They'd crack open and go to bleeding, and then by the time you see him and get nearly caught up with him, he'd take off again and be gone again.
Was he a athletic?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a mountain man.
He wasn't no giving up in him.
Now, tell about how he used to coon hunt, and they used to have to go find him, or Mr. Britt would have to go.
That's bear hunting.
Okay.
But now they actually tell you the truth. That man right over there, which was my great uncle, coon hunted some, and his brother, which lives over here on top of the hill, coon hunted some. Well, they'd take Daddy one night, one of them would, and the next night the other one would take him. Now, they would leave here and walk plumb across Snowbird, that mountain right there.
Right, over the top of Snowbird.
And down the other side and come into Harmon Den. And come back in here at daylight.
Somebody interpret that for us who doesn't know how tall Snowbird is.
Well,
Snowbird's 4,000 feet.
It's better, probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how far is that?
Round trip, that's at least 10 or 15 miles.
Yeah, easy, 10 or 15 miles.
And it ain't level neither.
No. So he'd take off on foot from, like, right here?
Yeah, like right here.
Right here. So you got a big creek running up from the house here that goes, and then Snowbird is a big mountain right
that you see.
Towards North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Coon. And then now what would they...
Coon hunt and not catch no coon.
Not even catch coon.
And they would pick him up. That's what you mean. They would take him. Or he would make a loop and come back to the house.
No, they'd walk with him in there.
Okay, they'd go with him.
But like he'd go like one night and the other would go the next night. They couldn't make it every night.
And now, what about when they bear hunted and they'd spend a long time trying to find him out in the mountains? Because there were no radios, no nothing.
Britt'd do that, and that's before we had radios and stuff. And if Daddy took off out of the dogs, and actually, tell you the truth, he's done this before. Daddy started in the Guff.
The Guff is a place.
Yeah.
FYI. A gulf. It took me about 2 days to figure out that y'all were saying Gulf with an L, like the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
Got it. The Guff.
Yep.
Got it.
Well, okay, he might take off in the Guff.
Yeah.
And then he'd go across Laurel Mountain, into Boomer Den, up on Round Mountain, through Rattlesnake, and into Wolf Creek and kill the bear. And kill the bear. And then Britt had to find him, drive till he found him. And him not even knowing where to start at, which would be a tough task.
Right.
But now Britt had a bitch that started doing this right here. Now this is what she learned. And them dogs. And pretty good dogs in this day and time that we were talking about. He had a bitch that would come back and hunt Daddy and take him to the tree.
Really?
That's pretty smart, buddy. Now, I'd say there's a lot of people out here who wouldn't believe that, but that's pretty smart.
So dogs would tree, that dog would come back,
Hunt Daddy.
and your dad would have been walking on the trail the dogs took because he was following them by hearing.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
Come back and hunt Daddy up and take him to the tree.
And then once he found him, take him to
She
the
done
tree.
it 2 or 3 times.
I'll be darned.
That's something, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something, now, buddy.
Now, we witnessed him raise his hand and swear, right?
Yeah.
Ask Britt if she's ever. See there? I got one. So twice, 3 times.
Mr. Britt verifies this story.
1, 2, 3.
We have
Let's get up
confirmation.
about 3, on 2. We'll level off at 2. It's about to be all right. But I tell
That's
you,
something.
that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ain't going to believe that.
It's really changed a lot over the years. You know, you talk about it as a lot of searching for a bear track for years because they couldn't find one. They'd hunt for days without finding a track, and then it become you search for days for Hugh L because he was gone with the bear and the dogs, or hours. And then as we grew up, it was we searched high and low and listened to the beep beep collars, and it was chasing dogs all the time. It was, you know, we had the bear track, we had the bear running. It was we got to find all the dogs now, and you know, so the evolution of bear hunting now is it's more about chasing the bear now, and you know, outsmarting the bear and figuring that part of it out.
Yeah.
Well,
he said he'd be lucky to kill 4 or 5 bears a year.
I
years
guess,
ago.
You know, back in the early days, Daddy killed one up here in the Gulf when I was 3. And Daddy and Britt killed one, and Bill Biggle. And that must have skipped about 3 years, because I believe I was probably,
He said they've hunted all year at different times, Mr. Britt did, and never found a track to run.
But this time, and Pappy was a babysitting, and Britt and Daddy and Bill Bigham had went up through there, and them dogs was running up Middle Prong. Come up across the road and just went up in there, Matthew, and treed on the side of that hill up there.
Right.
One, you know, going up toward the Buckeye, somewhere in that country.
Yeah.
Well, we was sitting down there to Bradley Shacks. We didn't know what was going on. And Britt and Daddy and Bill goes up through there. They go up there. And when they get up there, Britt's out of breath, so he flops his tail down. Those 2 feet up on the tree.
You thought you had a coon tree?
Yeah. And Daddy shines that light up there, and right up there sticking above him was that bear. Son, Daddy said he'd come up out of there, buddy. And Daddy shot that bear, and they never could find where they hit it at with a pumpkin ball and killed him.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Britt and Daddy thinks they scared it to death.
Scared it to death.
But I think what happened, Matthew, was I think what really happened was the pumpkin ball hit the teeth.
Yeah.
And it must have slithered something off of one of them, and it must have went in its brain and killed it.
Yeah.
Well,
now, what do you mean when you say pumpkin ball? A
slug.
muzzleloader?
A slug.
Okay. Oh, out of a shotgun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Pumpkin balls. Okay.
Yeah.
here come Bill. He hadn't never made it to the tree. And Britt and Daddy's up there, and Bill Bigham hadn't never made the tree. And they shot it, and here come fire dogs and Britt and Daddy all down the side of the mountain just to rolling, buddy. End over end down through there, and I'm hollering, Bill, it's a-coming towards you, and it's a-coming towards you. They said that flashlight went around the side of the hills.
Shaking.
Giving it that, buddy. Well, here they come back down there where we was at. And Fate Coggins was with us, too. And him and Pappies were drinking. And they come up there to the Jeep, and Pappy said, what did you kill? Coon? We killed a bear. Pappy said, I'll eat it higher and all if you can just kill the bear. They said, you better get ready to start eating.
Eat it hair and all if you kill the bear.
And they killed that bear and brought it down there. And then after he'd seen it and done that, he said, I'll tell you right now, don't ask me to babysit no more. I'll have been up there worse.
So, okay, you guys help me stay on the timeline here. So we're still here back when you were just a boy hunting with your dad. Well, so when did you start breeding dogs and hunting on your own as an adult?
Well, Daddy never would breed no dogs. He just, Charles Gant bred the dogs, and they got all the dogs they needed from Charles, and back and forth, whatever. And Charles come get what dogs he wanted back and to raise pups from and all that stuff. So it just went back and forth like that right there. So he never did. Well, I'm going to say that me and her was married probably before I started racing dogs. Huh?
When you got out of the service?
Because I had burned little Joe, and then when I come back home out of service, Charles Gant called me on the bitch I had. Actually, Britt had the bitch. And he give me his dog, so he sort of quit hunting. And he give me what he had. And there's one of them that Charles Gant wanted. So Charles Gant had bought this Walker dog, coon dog. The guy had paid $500 for him. And he had, that's a right smart of money that long ago. And him and his wife had got a divorce, and he quit hunting and stuff, and he wanted to sell him. Well, Charles wouldn't buy him. Charles never would buy him. And he finally come down to about $50 on him, and Charles went ahead and bought him. But the day he brought him home, Charles Gant, he called me. He said, come and get this dog. He didn't buy it to keep. He wasn't going to keep it. He was like Holt Dillingham. He wouldn't have nothing but a Plott. So he gave him to me, but I give him that bitch too, that he was wanting. And
that was a Walker dog.
Yeah. And that's probably the first gang of pups I ever raised. May have been. Was from out of Walker. And Junior Hill over there, William Roy's dad-in-law, he had a Walker bitch, a registered bitch, and this dog was registered. That bitch he had is Alva World Champion. He paid $300 for her when she was a puppy. He told me I could bring her over here and raise a gang of pups out of her if I wanted to. Well, I did, and raised them pups. And out of them pups, I got to be as good a bear dog as ever walked. Out of them pups. I had a good one, a female. She was a good one, but the male was extra good. And
that the old man?
Yeah. And that made me sort of like Walker's because he done so good, and I tried to get some more, but that never happened. Nothing like what he was.
Yeah.
But now he was a dog that you turn on a bear here and run it all day long. All day, and run every dog you turn loose out of the woods. Gather up all them dogs, take them back, pack them to the old Walker. End of the day, nothing be with him, he'd still be after the bear. Leave him out of a night, not get the bear killed and leave him out of a night. He'd come in to Reed Cook's over there, and Reed was pretty tight, but he'd give him a little bit of cornbread and stuff, and take him right back the next day, do the same thing again. He was a tough sucker now, buddy. But
what got you back onto the Plotts?
I never could come up with nothing else that can even compare with him. And I raised another gang of Walkers, but they didn't do what he done. And actually, my little bitch, Britt, that old cattle truck he had, International, had that cattle rack on it, and you couldn't keep her tied up unless you had a choke chain on her. She'd slip every collar. You could put 2 collars on her and make it pretty good with her. So here I did come. She come in heat. I loaded her in the truck and around there at the house. Stopped and went in to use the bathroom. Come back outside. She'd climbed over the truck, hung herself dead as a mackerel. Dead as a mackerel.
That was the end of the walkers.
And so that was back to Charles and the Plotts.
Right. And then I guess, well, I'll let you say that Leroy, they didn't come no better than he was. I don't care. And, I've come over the years. Actually, a trail dog Brett had right there. Run anything that's in the woods till he's about 5 or 6 years old. And then that sucker quit and wouldn't run nothing but a bear. I'll tell you something else smart about a dog. You'll find this hard to believe, and a lot of people won't believe you. It could be in the road right here. Dogs could be running right down here. If there's a running a bear, son, he'd go to him like a bullet. If they was a running junk, you couldn't pry him out of the road. Now, how'd he know that?
So you're saying without him smelling what they were
Without
running,
him smelling anything.
he could just tell. Say what he just said. They couldn't hear it.
Well, they left him over there in Greene County, where you're going.
Yeah.
Over where you're going tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next to Tracy's. And that mountain over there and them rock cliffs. They left him over there. And the next day, he was home here from over there.
40 miles.
At least.
Wow. Now, which dog is this?
That dog that Britt had.
Okay, this is one of the Plotts.
But let me tell you something else about how smart he was. Now, this is something else you won't want to believe. He wouldn't give me
Does Brenda believe it? That's what I want to know, if Miss Brenda believes
Brenda
it.
seen it, whether she believes
Brenda
it or
saw
not.
it.
Brenda's seen it.
Brenda's gone to get a Bible, they say.
I don't care. I'll put my hand on it. He wouldn't give me Nick. But he said you can hunt him all you want to. You just leave him here at the house. Come and get him when you want to go hunting. And do that right there because you wanted to keep him. Well, when it come fall of the year time to bear hunt, that sucker would show up at Daddy's or show up at my house. You didn't have to go get him.
He knowed when it's time to
He knowed
go.
it's time to go.
He just knew when it was time to go, huh?
That's something, buddy. That is something.
So the dog just ran loose.
Yeah, on the last, he let him just run loose up there.
Yeah. Wow.
But he didn't roam all over the country and stuff. But now when it come hunting time, he's going hunting somewhere. But now it's hard to believe it. You'd think a dog could know that.
Well, a bear knows when the acorns are falling up in a certain spot and goes there during that time of year.
I'm going to tell you something
stuff.
right now.
We're convinced they know where the lines are.
They're smarter dogs.
Yeah.
They're smarter dogs out here than you think they are. Mm-hmm. And a smart one is a good one, buddy. Mm-hmm. And it's just hard to... And actually, some of them dogs, a bunch of them, it's better than some hunters is.
Oh, yeah.
And some hunters I even know.
Oh, yeah.
And you can take them dogs, and you can watch them dogs. It is good. And you can learn, if you can learn anything, you can learn something your own self from just watching a good dog work and watch what it does and stuff. You can learn your own self something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure can.
Yeah.
I think Roy enjoys that half as much as anything, as even a bear that we don't necessarily kill or even get jumped. He just wants to know where it went.
Mm-hmm.
I never did like to not know where they went to. It always bothered me. But now,
what trend would you say? Because you guys do have I'm a bear hunter, but I'm not hunting with hounds as much as you guys. I don't know where a bear goes. I know where I kill him, or I know where I get a trail camera picture of him. What would be the trend of bear travel patterns in these mountains? And I guess it's when they're being pursued with dogs.
Well, it don't matter if they're run by dogs or if they're on their own or whatever, unless they're just roaming around right in here eating, feeding, and they're maybe around and around. But if they're traveling and moving, they're going to go on the contour of the mountain. And if you got a GPS and you watch, and it's going to stay on the contour of that
Now,
mountain.
when you say the contour, what do you mean? Like the
topographic line,
like the high point on a ridge.
Well, like you'll see it here, and it'll go, and that may grade up to the top, towards the top, but it'll stay on that line.
Yeah.
And go on that line. All right. Say they get heat on it, and it drops down a line or two, and it'll still fall right back in that line down there and start grading that line 2-gainer. And that's every one bat I've ever seen.
Now, I'm trying to understand, but what topographic
they
feature is that?
They know exactly how to grade them contours to hit through them gaps. And just, if they're traveling, I'm saying.
And go the easiest way.
And just right on through them gaps and 2-gainer, and they'll go on the easy way to walk.
So they'll hit a gap on a mountain.
Yeah, they ain't going to climb straight up and down now.
Right. Now, will they go down in a deep valley and just straight up the other side of a ridge and go down, up and down?
They don't want to.
They don't want to do
They'll head a
they
hollow.
They want to go around the side.
So you got these
lines.
Big fingers coming off these big mountains. And that's what you mean. Okay, now I understand. They'll run.
You'll see them
with
lines
the contour
with
lines.
the contour. There you go.
And it's like level to them when they do that.
Yeah.
You know, and some of them grades up, and some of them goes level around through here.
Yeah.
And they'll go rain plumb around that mountain.
Do they run circles?
Well, they might.
I mean, like, if you
you'll
ran a bear for
you'll see more
couple
small
hours.
ones running the circle. I tell you when you'll see them hit a circle, too. You'll see them hit a circle when they start about catching them. And even if it's a decent bear, maybe not big enough to just stop and want to fight the dog, but still want to outrun them. If he starts making smaller circles, it ain't going to be long till he's bowled up on the ground or he's up a bush one to the other.
Yeah.
When you see that. But now, that ain't saying a little bittian won't do that. The little bittian does everything. I mean, around and around and over top of theirself and everything.
What about where you're jumping bears? Like, so you guys are rigging bears, which means the dogs are in the back of the truck hunting while you're driving, number one. And then number two, you're looking for tracks along the side of the road in leafy terrain. It's not like anybody's seeing a sure enough bear track in the dirt. I mean, you're looking for scuff marks in the ditch or where these bears are going up banks crossing the road. Do they cross in the low spots? Do they cross down on the creeks? Where do you find most bear tracks?
I'm going to tell you something about that. That is something that you don't know where you'll find it. But I can take you right over yonder where they worked on the road. And where it's already a bad crossing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
steep
crossing before they worked on the road. They made it straight up and down. And them bears still come across that road.
Okay, so there's highway work over here, and you're saying they
instead of going right down here,
they cut the bank.
They excavated the bank.
They cut the bank
in a natural bear travel area.
And instead of going down here and up the gully, up the holler, where it'd be real easy, they still climb and slide off that bank, straight up and down.
They go on the pattern pretty much most of them.
Yeah. So it would be easy for them to go down 200 yards
They wouldn't
and
even
cross.
Yeah, sometimes they wouldn't even have to go that. They wouldn't have to go 50 yards over at that one place, would they?
No.
Now, what's unique about that crossing, though? What's making them want to go there?
Well, probably an acorns, too. It's just a crossing between coming out of the Gulf and the mountains and going towards Johns Creek, Laurel Fork, and that country back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's just a crossing for them to work through and feed through and stuff.
Yeah. So when you're hunting these places around here that y'all hunt every year, I mean, are you striking bears in the same place? Or am I hearing you say that
General area, yeah.
General area, but like in a half-mile stretch of road, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, they could be. But as a whole, if we go to the Gulf and you run a bear, it's wanting to go to the refuge. If it's below the road, 9 chances out of 10, it's going to try Locust Thorn Branch. I mean, that's just, and I ain't saying the same path every time, but
that general area.
Yeah, you know,
that's where
I ain't saying one couldn't cross anywhere.
Couple hundred yard stretch.
That's the area that it's going to shoot for. Yeah. And then you go up here on the Browns Gap Road, and you bring one through there on one of them angles, and it's coming towards Locust Thorn. And if you ain't got that road line, it's hard to line it up good enough because it goes around a bend this way and then down through here. But now they're going to come right through there and grade right through Bubba Bob Fields and go to the refuge too that way. And they're hard to block up there, ain't they?
They're hard to block. Yep.
And it's hard to actually tell you the truth. We do a decent job, but we've been doing it for years up there. Say it's a slick rock where they want to cross. Well, we'll take the middle vehicle and say it stays right even with the dogs. And then half of the vehicles be in front of you up through yonder, half the vehicles behind you, and you pretty well turn a lot of bear that way.
Let me stop you right there because people wouldn't know unless they'd been there. So these dogs are. Explain it, Josh.
Why you're trying to turn it, right?
Well, I mean, even just what that means. People might not even know what it means to turn a bear race or why you would want to turn it.
Yeah, so we're chasing a bear in in a country that we're allowed to be hunting in. So it's open season there, and the bear, we were talking a few minutes ago, they're smart. They know where big country is, and where that big country's at it's off limits. We're not allowed to be hunting.
Bear sanctuary.
Bear sanctuary, yeah.
Which is an area that's been designated. It's national forest, but you can't hunt there.
No bear hunting.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the bear, as the dogs get it up and running, its goal is to try to survive and to get away from them.
And it just knows. It knows
where to go.
If it can get there, it's safe.
Safe, yeah.
It's bred into them.
Yep.
Just like you breed something into these dogs here.
Really? To get back into that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where they're going to head every time. And Roy's talking about there with Locust Thorn or Brown's Gap or some Bob Field, some of those areas. That's the low points in the contours of the land, and that's where they're shooting for. That's the easiest way, the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And that's where we take our job is to cut them off and head them off in those areas.
And so if you hear a bear race coming up the hollow, about to cross the road, get into the bear sanctuary.
Better done being there.
If you got your truck there and you got 2 or 3 guys standing on the road, that bear will.
It'll sense that, smell you,
hear you,
anything, and
turn the
but
race.
that ain't the last time it'll turn.
No.
It'll pile its ice right down through yonder and right down yonder. It'll be right back to the road to go again.
You remember when I chased
I
that bear?
remember that.
Yep. That bear was coming up the hall, and I just happened to be the only guy down there. And I was running, and I would hear the bear running in the woods. Mm-hmm. And I'd peek over the edge, and it would see me, and it would jump off down and run, and I'd just run with it. And it would be trying to come back up to cross the road again. And, I could only do that for so long before it finally.
When they got the line
you
made
probably
up.
turned it down because RL turned that dog or two loose over there, come on the ice end, and down Browns Creek it went.
Yeah.
So you finally got it turned. But we was running out through there, and he'd say, "You hear it? I hear something. You hear it?" I couldn't hear nothing.
Couldn't hear nothing.
And he said, "I heard it," and I thought to myself, "Well, he just thinks he's hearing something." And so
didn't believe you.
I couldn't stay up with him. I couldn't stay up with him out there. And directly holler, "I see the bear! I see the bear!"
Yeah, when they get their mind made up, that's all it's on their mind.
So basically, you guys have kind of an area that you're hunting, and you're trying to. If you can't kill the bear. If it's during kill season, obviously, you're trying to turn this bear and keep it in this big area that you're hunting. And you need big areas to run these bears. I mean, we're not talking about a 1,500 acres.
You wouldn't believe how much ground a bear can cover. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, they can cover ground, buddy.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe how much ground a dog can cover.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to believe that stuff, buddy.
And too, wherever we go hunting, there's them areas, that them bears try to get into. Even we go to Canada.
That you don't want them in.
I mean, there's a park there close to where we hunt at, and there's a road just like in the Gulf. We try to keep them cut off. They try to get back in that park, but, everywhere you go, them bears sense them areas, and they try to get back in them.
Yeah, down on the coast, it's the river, it's the swamps. It's the roughest area that they possibly know is around. That's where they want to go.
That's where they retreat to.
That's it.
Right.
And it's a retreat at that point.
Yeah.
You want these things?
Yep. It's and that's the game side of it. Is to try to outsmart them. That's where these guys, the Roys and the the Brits and the old timers that know the way the bear's running, where they're heading to, have educated us and taught us on how to do that.
And that's a good question that I have for you is what does it take? I wouldn't have understood this until I saw it in action, but you would think that if you had this great pack of dogs, you just find a bear, turn them loose, the dogs run the bear, tree it, and you go kill the bear.
Now
It's nothing like that most of the time.
Sounds easy.
You could do that if you hunted in an area where there wasn't no
where you had no
limits.
limitations. Okay, that's a good way to say it. So you wouldn't have to be
doing that
if you didn't have and there's always some reason why you can't go too far that way. Or maybe it's a highway.
If you let them get across the road up there, you're looking at I-40's the next stop.
Right.
And they don't live on that road. They ain't going to make it if they come out on it.
Yeah.
The bear ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
And the dog ain't.
So that's where you're talking about, you were talking about the team that the Laurel Mountain Bear hunters are. These guys have been hunting these mountains for 60 years, but then you guys are, I've ridden with Josh before going on a bear race.
Yeah.
And it make your knuckles turn white. But so you're getting to these crossings, you're putting new dogs in.
Yep.
What they call packing dogs. So if there's a race that's just across the road, or if you can hear a race down below you,
right?
And if you turn out 7 or 8 dogs or 5 dogs or however many, not all those dogs are going to be on that bear. Some of the dogs are going to have turned around, fallen out.
Yep.
Yeah, and so maybe there's only 2 dogs on that bear. And this is stuff people don't understand.
We actually don't have a big problem of what you're saying.
Okay.
We don't actually have that problem.
No.
We actually tell you the truth. Now, I ain't saying something can't happen. But it's a hole. And you take a pack of them dogs down there, the good ones. You turn them loose on the bear. And they tree it, they bay it on the ground. And when you kill that bear, unless something's hurt, you're going to load every one of them dogs up and be ready to come to the house. You don't have to hunt, nor look, nor nothing else.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
I ain't
and that's
talking
ideal.
about young ones and some that ain't plumb trained. But them good ones down there, you don't have to hunt them dogs.
Yeah.
They'll be there.
They'll be there.
And that's come with a lot of, to your point earlier about the hunters helping the dogs and the dogs helping the hunters, us putting them in good positions and getting them in on the bear the right way. And to your point, a lot can go wrong between turning loose on it, jumping it, and getting it killed.
There's a lot in packing dogs.
Right.
I mean, if you run up here and the dogs is gone 15, 20 minutes through yonder, and then they'll just pack the shit out of them. We don't pack our dogs like that. You pack them dogs down there, you better not pack them behind them dogs, had you met.
No, you're just wasting
They
them.
won't. You're just wasting them. They won't be there.
Unless it's
I mean, they'll just
trained,
keep getting further behind.
Yeah.
These back here that you pack will keep you getting further behind these up here.
Right.
You better get them up there where they're at.
Yeah. So you're saying if the dogs, because on these GPS you can tell where the dogs cross the road. Mm-hmm. And so
We don't pull no stuff of going and putting dogs behind dogs that's been gone through yonder a while. We don't do none of that stuff.
Yeah.
You're just,
pack
all
to
you're
the front
doing is
dog.
just wiring your dog out when
Yeah.
you do that.
Yeah. Well, I think that puts a lot of context around what it means to be an effective hunter for the area that you're at. You couldn't, like, think about going blind into this area, having never hunted it. I mean, that would be you guys. I mean, you learn where these bears run and how to do things, and you do that everywhere you go. I mean, you guys hunt on the coast of North Carolina. You hunt in Canada. You hunt Wisconsin.
I'll tell you what. We started with no radios. Then we got them two that I was telling you about in the vehicle. Then we got one that weighed about 12 or 13 pounds. You put it around your neck, and it was like some kind of weight you had on. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you could talk on them and stuff. And then we kept coming with a little bit better radios and a little bit better. And then when they got into the transistor radios, they lightened up a big time, boy. And you could handle them. Then when we got up to these radios we use now, it was just a completely different different thing, you know.
Right.
And then you go back to the tracking collars. Before we had tracking collars, and you had to follow the dogs. Then you come up with tracking collars, which we thought was a real deal, and it was. And then they come up with these GPS collars, and then they was sure enough the real deal. And then they come up with better GPS collars, and they just got better and better. But by the time you get up here, and if it wasn't for these boys right here, being able to come up here and get these collars and all this shit and put it on them dogs and everything, there wouldn't be a lot of hunting going on here probably, from me. And so there's a lot involved in it. And where it used to, you get up and you get your dogs and you go hunting, you didn't have to get nothing. Just get your dog and go hunting. And now you need about a separate vehicle to haul all the equipment you got to have.
Yeah.
Takes us an hour to get ready to go hunting, don't it, Roy?
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to get that many dogs ready. I know how long it takes me to get my 2 dogs ready when we go coon hunting.
It's a job now, buddy.
What's that, Miss Brenda? Yeah, how many dogs have you got? Now, this is where you got to tell the truth.
Well, I just estimated around 30.
30 dogs.
I'd estimated around that.
Yeah.
But if you ain't got no dogs, you can't hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have dogs to hunt.
Let's tell more about those dogs.
Yeah.
Do what now, Charles?
Clay was wanting to know more about those dogs. Some of the some of the old ones, and then some of the ones now that's come up through the years.
I mean, even as far back, Clay, as I can remember, we've had trail dogs. Daddy had Rambler, which was a good trail dog. Right there's Britt, he'd tell you the same thing. Was a good, and that was years ago. And then Daddy had John, which was a good trail dog. Britt had, and I mean,
and your trail dog is your start dog that has a real good cold nose.
That's right. So actually, we've had good trail dogs from whether we found a bear track or not. Mm-hmm. And I've seen Lewis Hanner, which his trail dog was a blue tick. And he'd take a check line, which is 18 foot long, you know, just one strip of that check line, not the one that comes off of it, but a check line. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He put that on that old blue tick, and that sucker never quit pulling. I'm talking about straining a pulling. And he'd go off in them cliffs, through them laurels, get out on his hands and knees, and that dog would pull in every strength it had on him, and he'd let that line go till he'd go out to the end of that check line. Then he'd crawl through them laurels and stuff, just walk right up that check line till he'd get to that old dog, and he'd let him go. He'd do it all day long. He'd get off in under there, and I'd say Britt's seen him do that. And he'd get up under there and lead that sucker and hunt for a bear track all day long, which we found sometimes too. But now, he done a lot of leading, boy. He got through that buzzard roost with him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just through the creeks and crannies and stuff and go right through yonder following that old dog.
Hmm.
So Roy told you about the walker. Has he ever told you about our blue tick?
Secret?
Secret.
Tell us about Secret.
So I'll start the part of it, and then Roy can take it over. So I taught school for a few years, and I got to start going with Roy in the summertime. Me and Roy and Hoyt Dillingham and Kevin Proffitt, we'd go hunt with Doug Woods up in Junior Woods up in Michigan. And Junior had these blue ticks that he always wanted to run against Roy's Plotts. And Junior would talk up those blue ticks and talk them up, and I'm going to run them against your Plotts. And we'd come up there and we'd have our dogs in the summertime not in shape, and we'd catch bears, and Junior wouldn't be catching bears, and then maybe he'd catch a bear or two, and then we'd keep catching bears. And eventually, lo and behold, a litter of pups came along, and Junior wanted us to have one of them. So we ended up with one, and told Roy, I said, we really going to take one of these blue ticks home? Because all we knew was Plott's, and so we stashed her in the back hole of the dog box and called her Roy's Laurel Mountain Secret.
Yeah, I remember when they come home, they brought her home. I was like, Roy, what's this here? He said, this is my secret. So that's why she got her name, Secret.
I had that Laurel Mountain Plott on the back of the RL's truck. And him and Jared wrote in the dust back there and blue ticks. That's coming home.
That's coming home.
But look here, we come home. Now, Jamie ain't never fooled with a dog. None of them. My son. Mm-hmm. Well, for some reason, he liked that blue tick. Well, I had it down there at the barn. And he started letting it come in the house, and Sterling was little. And he'd let it come in the house and get on the couch. He wouldn't let them others have a light of day, them Plotts down there. Mm. But now he liked that little old blue tick. And I'm going to say she's probably 4 months old. And she was pretty nervy, but she thought she was a Plott after so long a time. But she'd go over to them Plotts.
That's what we told everybody.
She'd go over to them dogs, and they'd act like they'd kill her. But she wouldn't give up. She'd just turn her head sideways and lay down on her shoulder, ease right up to them, and lick them, and they'd lick her. And so she just could go to every one of them and do whatever she wanted to.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay no attention to her. But they had this little old horse that they'd weaned up there. Actually, it was getting close to a year old, one of them miniatures. Mm-hmm. And they brought it down here and put it in the stable, and Jamie was learning it to lead. Well, she was about 4 months old. So he got that little horse out, and it wouldn't go. It wouldn't like lead. So he put that rope around its rear end, and he pulled it. And he pulled on it so hard that when it went to go, instead of stepping, it'd jump and lunge its feet down the ground like that right there. Well, when it done that the first time, she went to raising Cain, buddy, barking at him. The second time it done that lunge and went in the ground, she had it by the end of the nose, buddy.
Got a hold of it.
I got a hold of it. Well, then I went to Canada with her. She's probably, let's see. That would have been in September. She couldn't have been much old.
No.
She couldn't have been much old. But she wanted a hold of everything she seen. She was nervy, and she got hurt a whole lot. But now, she finally got scared enough on a bear till I've seen her on a mean bear that wanted to run her. I've seen her hush barking by herself, but stand there. And just stand there and look at the bear, but not bark.
Oh, really?
But she never was a dog that couldn't hardly stand a bark. Right. But now, if she got on a mean bear, she'd dry up, buddy. And I've seen her do it on 2 or 3 bears. And then the only bear I ever seen her quit was we treated a mean bear in a 300-pounder show, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that bear up in that tree, Clay, would lay its ears back and pin its ears back like it wanted to get a hold of some of us and hit them 40 foot high in that tree. Mm. And so we didn't kill it. We should have, but we didn't. And we got the dogs off of it. Wound up having to have one dog put down, and a bunch more got hurt on it. But she didn't make it. She got messed up at Match Patch. She didn't make it to the tree. Well, some way or another, she got straightened out on it, and she come on in there. And we was done leaving the tree when she done that. So she went right up by us, and right on up out the tree she went to treeing.
Bear was done gone.
Bear's done gone, but she treed a little bit, and she didn't do that long till she cut out and went on the bear. Well, I told them boys, I said, I know exactly where to cross that in the cuff. I said, she takes it right across through there and down the other side, and I know where to cross that. We put right back on it over there. So we come out of there, but before we got out of there, she went to the Appalachian Trail nearly, and I'd say it was running her. She caught up with it probably, and I'd say it was running her till she piled her ass back to us. Mm. That's all one ever seen her come off of, from off of. Mm. But then when we went over there and turned back on it, And it done just what I said. Went down that holler we thought it would. Now, she stayed that whole race and got hurt on it and was there when we killed it.
So that secret dog, though, became a really nice dog.
Oh, she could trail.
Next week, we'll continue on with part 2 with Roy Clark and the Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters.
After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the MeatEater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the MeatEater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.